Broadcasting live from sunny South Florida, this is KMA Talk Radio. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of fine cigars. Your KMA crew, the Italian Scallion, Paul DeGracco, Alex Tavella, a.k.a. The Goat, and always telling it like it is, Honest Abe.
I like to smoke them like the Winston Churchill, like John Kennedy, yeah. Remember Coach Red Auerbach, smoked up for victory, yeah. Well, you can take my wife, you can take my car, but you can't take my big cigar. My cigar.
Good morning to all our loyal listeners, libertarians, and lovers of the leaf. I'm your host, Honest Abe, and we are broadcasting today's show number 414 of KMA Talk Radio. Along with me today is my trusty sidekicks, as always, the Italian Scallion himself, Paul DeGracco, and Southpaw from South Philly, the man also known as the GOAT, Alex Tavella.
What's up, good people?
What's going on, gentlemen?
I feel like it's been forever since I've seen you.
Why?
I don't know. You guys have been so busy this week.
We see you every Saturday.
I know.
It's not enough for me. That's a compliment.
Do you want to take us to Disney?
Let me tell you something.
Wait. I figured this out. It's early, but I got it. This is Paul's like undercover way of telling us that he's tired of us skipping out on the meeting.
Probably.
That's what this is.
Undercover, I would just tell you.
No. This was your.
You know, before COVID and we stopped like visiting each other and stuff. Paul used to come here every Thursday night at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So we actually had a physical meeting live. So we really couldn't get out of it because he would actually show up instead of just ignoring his phone calls. So
Great. Thanks.
Yeah, he would just physically show up. So, and we would do our meeting, 45 minutes, an hour, maybe tops. And then he would sit at the bar and drink with the brewmeister for about an hour and a half afterwards, and they would bond. We did bond, yeah. I was more like, I was putting together information for my documentary on him someday.
Did you really, maybe you bonded? I don't know that he is capable of like bond.
Yeah. You know what?
I don't know.
I think he did bond with his roommate's dog.
He did, yes. He fell in love.
I think he did. I really do.
I'll say this: I have a way of getting things out of people. So
yeah, you're nosy. You ask rude questions. You cross the line all the time.
I'm just fascinated. What does that man do when he's home?
He's kind of a Yenta type, Paul.
I'm not a gossiper. Abe will be the first to tell you that if I say something to your face, if I say something to somebody else, I'll say it to your face.
The Yenta, Paul DeGracco.
Paul always likes to scoop, man. He's got to know.
I do. I'm a curious fellow, as they would say.
When we had that, I forgot.
Here we go.
Yeah, I forgot what her name was.
Erica.
We had Erica as a co-host when we were trying to replace Lady M. Dude, like Paul being like, so when did you do your boob job? Who got
Wait,
it?
hold on. Yeah. That's not how it came up, though.
Pretty much, though.
No.
Was that your ex-husband? Oh, no.
I'll pull the clip. But she said there was this guy that wouldn't leave her alone that kept stalking her. But then it turns out that this is the guy that drove her to the plastic surgeon every single time she needed to get a checkup. He took her to the surgery. He drove her home from the surgery. She showed him all the photos from the after stuff, and then he was obsessed with her. I'm like, well, what do you expect? You're showing him naked photos of yourself, and kind of that to me is a hint. Here, check out my boob job. Want to see it? Like, then she's complaining that the guy won't leave her alone.
There's something about when a woman first gets a boob job, it's like they're not even really hers.
Yeah,
you're willing to just show them, but after time passes but when you get that window of just got them, everybody can see.
Yeah, when girls, my wife, women that got boob jobs, I purposely just start hanging around.
Yeah,
because, eventually they want you to see them.
They want you to see it, right?
There you go. But Paul, you do cross the line. You get like intrigued, and then Paul just wants to go all the way down the rabbit hole with someone.
Well, when we're on the air, there's really, there's not that much of a.
You do it in person. You do it in person.
Not as much.
You hear all the questions he used to ask Adam. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? Then what do you
Because
what do you
I'm
have for
fascinated by that person. I don't, he's socially inept. And I want to know, like, what is his life? Like, he's got some weird hobbies and some weird, like, I don't know what the word is, not traditions, but he's got some compulsive behavior. I'm just fascinated by that human being. I don't know what it is. And I think other people would be too. Listen, we have a filmmaker on the show with us today. Maybe I can explain to him.
Most people didn't even realize he's off the show. What are you talking about? 80% of our viewers didn't even realize there was a switch.
Now that we're going to get all those comments, but Adam's gone. I don't understand.
Yeah, I think. Hey, Alex, I think it's a cry for help. I think Paul misses him, Alex.
He might.
I think
I don't even know where he is. I tried to get together with him before he left.
Not where he's supposed to be yet. That's for sure.
I'll tell you where he is. He's at a bar.
He's at the bar.
He's at a bar somewhere. Could be at Whole Foods.
Could be his bedroom.
Could be his bedroom.
Listen, I said to him, "Let me take you out to dinner before you do your thing, whatever you're doing." And he's like, "Yeah, how about we meet at Whole Foods?" I was like, "Okay, sure." I never heard from him again. Tried 2 or 3 more times to get in touch with him. He just doesn't have that skill to, like, communicate with human beings. Fascinating.
His last day of work, right?
Oh, I heard.
I bought lunch for everybody. He didn't want to have lunch with people. You know, I bought him whatever he wanted for lunch, and I bought it for the shop.
Did he eat his sandwich, like, alone in a corner?
Probably. And then he snuck out. He didn't even want to tell anybody bye. Like, he was, like, sneaking out the door. Yeah,
he had to stop in the office for something. That's the only reason we called him.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, see you later.
Wow. That's strange to me. He didn't, like, after how long did he work for you? 10 years?
Because he's just a walking, like, computer, and nobody wrote the code for, like, emotion into his brain. And it's bonding. It's just, nobody. They skipped out on that part.
That kind of sums it up, really.
I never learned how to love.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God!
You're laughing, but that's kind of pretty much it.
That's it.
I don't know. I think he just hasn't opened up to the right person. Maybe that's it. Let's hope. You guys had a busy week this week, though. You had the Connoisseur Club reveals. You had a lot. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff going on Smoke Inn Social. I mean, do you get time to rest, or?
No, we don't. We just don't.
All right.
No, but what fun is that? What fun is resting and doing nothing? That's not fun.
But there's a lot of Facebook Lives going on. Yesterday, what really got me, and I was going to be sarcastic to you, is when Abe's assistant canceled the meeting while I was waiting in there for a half hour. I see Abe DeBabna, Honest Abe, is live and Smoke Inn Social. And I was like, that son of a bitch. He's got to open a package now. He can't take 15 minutes from me.
I didn't even know what time the meeting was yesterday. So I didn't even know that was scheduled. And then they were waiting on that box from the day before because I hadn't come in on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
That was for AJ.
That was really for AJ. But it was actually some nice cigars that one of our socialites had sent us. I was curious about a new brand, so I have to be careful being curious about a new brand because the guy sent like a bag full, it's got to be 20 cigars in that bag.
Yeah, it looked like it was packed.
Yeah. What I do like is he sent the Ziploc bag from one of our competitors and then put a big X to the logo. So that was
well
fun.
done. Yes, that was well done.
Yes.
I mean, I guess at least he shipped it in a Ziploc bag. He didn't just throw them in the box.
Well, I would hope not.
I actually smoked one of those cigars yesterday. Did you smoke one, Alex?
I did.
Yeah, it was actually not bad.
It was good.
Not bad at all. So, Paul, what's the plans this weekend? Disney, bachelorette party, baby shower. What you got going on? Come on.
No, there's really nothing because next weekend we have my second son's first birthday party, and this weekend we're kind of laying low. And in my little house, we're gonna have like 6 people sleeping over apparently for 4 days. I don't understand why that makes sense, but
adults.
It'll be 1, 2, 3 adults and 2 children. So 5 people, 5 other people.
Over in your house?
I know you've seen my house; it's very tiny. So,
are you guys like gonna put like sleeping bags in the living room and like make a little circle?
I have a pull-out couch that has like a Tempur-Pedic mattress on it. It's like a real bed. And then I guess we're gonna put the kids in the kids' rooms. I only have 3 bedrooms here. Nobody's sleeping in my room. I'll tell you that. And then everybody wanted to bring their dogs as well, so I had to put a nix on that. I was like, we're not going to have 5 dogs in a 1,500 square foot house. I was like, maybe when we build a new house.
Time out. I commend you. Paul finally put his foot down and drew the line. I am impressed.
I did.
No dogs.
I did.
The dogs.
There's got to be more to it than that.
What the hell? Why can't I be a man?
He probably paid for a doggy daycare or something.
It's not real. Something. Look, see how sensitive he got when I said it? Tell the truth. There's more to it than that.
No, there's really not. I swear to you. I almost had to pay for a flight ticket for somebody that said they wouldn't drive without their dog, but I didn't. I got out of it somehow. But I was willing to. I mean, I was willing to pay the price.
Really?
Flights are cheap now, so I don't really care. But no, listen, we got a great show today. I want to take this off of me because I'm sure my wife is watching and I'm going to hear about it. I didn't mention names. I didn't say who, right?
That's so funny. Paul's already in defensive mode.
Right.
He's not mentioning names, honey. Don't worry about it.
It's smart. He gets to jump on it,
So we have a pretty exciting show today. We have 2 extremely entertaining and fantastic guests that I can't wait to get to some of their stories. Shall we go into our first guest, Abe?
I'm excited about both our guests. Our first.
Oh my God!
My first guest had an incredible role, one of my favorite shows ever on television, and the other one's basically a legacy legend in our industry. Who every time I'm around him, I love talking to him because I learn new things. So it's gonna be a good show today. But yeah, let's get our first guest on.
All right. So you may know him as Furio from The Sopranos. Today, Mr. Federico Castelluccio is here with us live on KMA Talk Radio from the hills of New Jersey. Federico, welcome to KMA Talk Radio.
You're muted.
I think you're muted, sir.
I said buongiorno a tutti.
There you go.
Hey, Abe, I want to know what are you smoking there? What is it?
This was a gift from a visit from Daniel Marshall. Daniel Marshall's been in this business for a very, very long time, makes some of the best humidors ever. And this cigar was for his 38th anniversary that was made for him by Carlito Fuente. It's actually very good.
Nice, man.
Yes.
Really nice.
Is that the ones that come with one gold wrapped?
I have the box set. I don't know if I'm going to be able to break it, but I actually got one of these from him. I got one of these from him the Saturday night he was here visiting, and then he mailed the box set. So I'm actually smoking the cigar, the single stick he offered me. But good
Very
stuff.
cool.
My man Fed, man. So you're down here. You were just down here a couple of weeks ago. That's how we ended up accidentally getting in touch with you. You come back and forth a lot to Florida?
Yeah, I used to. But we came down to strike a couple of deals because we just started a company called Virtual Cons, as you can see here. So yeah, Virtual Cons, was born from actually Sopranos Con. We in the 20th anniversary in 2019, we a couple of super fans, myself and another friend of mine, got together and decided, it's time to do a convention. And we, that weekend when we got everything done, we thought maybe a couple thousand people would show up. Well, 15,000 or more showed up.
That's a big
and it was just unbelievable. So we saw that there was a fan base, a major fan base still out there, and even a new fan base, because there's kids that weren't able to watch it when they were young, and now they're in their 20s. And so there's this whole new fan base of young, Sopranos fans. So what happened was we were supposed to do another convention at Harrah's in Atlantic City and in Vegas. And we got shut down by COVID like everybody else. And so one of our partners said, hey, why don't we do a 365 day a year convention, where people fans from all over the world can reach out to us, get video shout outs, like personal meet and greets, virtual meet and greets, selling merchandise. We're going to have like master classes. I'll be doing a master class with Armand Desante, who's one of our partners. Ice-T is also one of our partners. Virtual Con is going to be the future of virtual conventions. And it's a cool thing.
I think this is awesome because I think almost every industry in this country in the last year has had to find a way to pivot.
Exactly.
The way we interact with our people, our fans and stuff out there. So this is just going to be an all year kind of a convention, but not Sopranos based. You're going to
we're moving into different areas. In Harrah's, we were doing Sopranos Con and Mob Movie Con. And so now we're also partnering up with Placencia. Placencia, we just we went down to Miami to meet with the owners of Placencia, and we're going down to Nicaragua. And there's going to be a beautiful, more than one actually. There's going to be a couple of celebrity cigars coming out, really, really good ones. That day, myself and Armand Desante, we smoked I think it was the Alma Fuerte. I don't know if you've had that one yet.
Yeah, great cigar.
It's just phenomenal, man. Yeah. I had a burn on it this big. It was incredible. But so that was really exciting. We're also partnering up with a hotel chain down there. And, basically we're going to be giving, the fans and people that download the app, and they can do everything through this app. A chance to get discounts on all kinds of stuff.
Will this be subscription based, or will this be like free to the public?
No, it's free. Right, you can download it now. Virtualcons.com. You can go down on it, and and just it's really nice and easy to navigate through. I've been doing like shout outs. And they're a lot of fun because I like to do them as the character, as Furio. So I just. I make up all kinds of shit, just give me a little information and I just make up all kinds of stuff.
We have you on, and now that you actually said you like to do it, I think it'd be cool if we could hear a little bit of Furio. I know we already had a couple of people comment. They'd love to hear the accent. Maybe you could do a soundbite for us for KMA Talk Radio with a Furio accent.
It was Furio, he speaks like this, it's, when Tony Soprano, he hired me, he brought me from Napoli, we come here and we talk on the podcast like you guys over here, so, stuff like that, if you go, it's a lot, to me, it's fun, it's like, people want to hear that character, so that's what I'm giving them on these shout outs,
But the funny thing is, Federico, is that I remember. Listen, I was a huge Sopranos fan. I was in high school when it started, and had a radio show. We used to do like our follow up every week about what happened on the Sopranos this past week. Yep. And you weren't. There were many other actors that auditioned for the role, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And until the guy that wrote the role, it wasn't David. It was one of the producers,
Terrence Winter.
Yes. He said when he saw you that's what he pictured when he wrote the role of Furio.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, when it was like my third audition. Actually, no, my second audition. I auditioned for Georgianne Walken's office with Mary Clay Bowen, I believe her name was. And I remember her shutting the camera that day and saying, "Federico, thank you so much. That was like a breath of fresh air." And I was like, I guess that's good, I walked out of there feeling pretty good.
This is positive.
Yeah. And so my agent calls me, said, that evening he called and said, look, they want to read you, the producers want to see you. So when I went to audition for producers and the director, well, let me back up a little bit, because there was a part that I called up Aida Turturro. She was a friend of mine. I've known her for many years, right? And it's a small community once you get to a certain plateau in the acting arena and theater arena. And so I called her up and I said, "Listen, I'm reading for producers." She goes, "Federico, that's great, but I have to tell you, it's one of the hardest rooms that I've ever coldest rooms that I've ever read for.
Wow.
Oh,
And
great.
So I said, yeah, that's what I said, man. I'm like, oh, great. But I told her, I said, listen, there's something in there that is a little. They know a lot about Italians from Italy, but there's something missing in there. I feel like I need to, bring a little bit more of Italian. She says, don't do it. Whatever you do, don't do it. Long story short, I do the audition. But I'm feeling really good about it because, and then all of a sudden I do this ad lib at the end, and they were like, okay, thank you. And then I was about to leave, and who I know now is David Chase. He was sitting on, there was a sort of a couch there and people sitting all around. And he says to me, he goes, hey, Federico, hold on a second. He goes, where are you from? I said, what do you mean? Do you mean like was I born? He goes, everything. So I said, well, I was born in Naples, Italy, and I grew up in New Jersey. And that's exactly what the character is, from Naples, Italy, and he comes to New Jersey. So he had a nice little smile on his face. So I'm about to walk out again, and somebody stops me, and it's Terry Winter. And so Terry comes over to me, says, hey, Federico, I want to ask you, what did you say at the end? That very last thing that you said in Italian. I said, oh man, like Aida's words were just like coming into my mind at that point. And I said, well, I don't know. Are we allowed to say swear on this or no?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Okay. So I said, you're lucky I didn't kill you, you fucking whore. And then I spit on her. And so he goes, all right, thank you. And he walks away. And I'm like, shit, man. I was like, so I didn't hear anything for 2.5 weeks. I'm like, I was calling my agent. I'm like, I know I aced that audition, man. I felt the room change. They were like, at the edge of their seats. I was doing the fighting stuff, and I didn't hear anything. So 2.5 weeks later, I get a call from Bob Barry, my agent. He says, Federico, they want to read you with James Gandolfini. I'm like, you kidding me? Really? Another audition? I thought that was it. Anyway, so I go to the audition. I'm sitting outside, and somebody comes in and they hand me a new script, like new sides. Sides are, what you audition with. It's basically the scenes that you're auditioning with. So I said, well, in my mind, I'm saying I already know it. I'm off book. I mean, I know this by heart. I made my choices and everything. She goes, well, there's a few changes in there. You might want to take a look at it. I said, really? Shit, changes. That's the last thing an actor wants to hear.
Right.
Last second changes at an audition,
right. Yeah. So I look at it, and I'm reading all the way through. At the very end, in Italian, you're lucky I didn't kill you, you fucking whore. I'm like, holy shit, this is good, man. So anyway, I go in, I read. Everything goes as planned. I did everything exactly the same. That's what you should do if they're calling you back. So I was just getting up to leave, and somebody comes over and says, Federico, can you read this? And now it's a cold reading of a completely new script. And I'm like, oh shit. I said, can you give me like 5 minutes? She goes, take your time, go outside, take a look. It said Naples, Italy, my character, Naples, in Naples, Italy. And it said there was the majority of it was in Italian. I was like, oh shit. So I made my choices. I translated everything in Italian. So I started working with Jim again, and we were being taped, we were being filmed. And I remember Jim breaking character. I mean, he started laughing when I was doing the Napolitan stuff, and speaking with the accent. So it was really cool, man. And then I thought I was going to get the job right then and there. And so what happens is they're like, thank you very much. Thank you, Federico. Thank you. I'm like, I'm looking around. I'm like, what the fuck? What is going on here, man? 2.5
I just gave you my soul.
Yeah, exactly.
all talking from experience.
Right.
Except I never got the job.
Georgianne Walken was actually operating the camera that day. And she said, Federico, I was just about to walk out the door. She said, Federico, just go home, relax, have a drink. We'll call you next week. I said, all right, thanks. Monday morning, I get a call, right? And the number, there's no, you don't know who it is. So I had a client in there. There's somebody that was hiring me to do a painting, and I'm a painter, And so, I answer the phone, and they're like, Federico? I said, yeah. Just want to get your sizes. Just what is your sleeve? And next, I said, who is this? she's like, this is wardrobe. I said, wardrobe. She's like, for what? What do you mean wardrobe? She goes, from The Sopranos. I said, holy, wait a minute. You want my sizes? You mean I got the job? So I found out from the wardrobe department.
Wow.
I got the job.
Oh my God.
Isn't that funny?
Wow.
Anyway,
Did you know what you were getting into?
of course.
I mean, at that
Of
point,
course.
it had been a hit.
Yeah. It was. I mean, after the first season, I think every actor in America wanted to be there, and probably internationally. It's like it was sort of an international success, and pretty much. I mean, from the first episode that I saw, I said, this is something really special. I mean,
Yeah.
the writing, the acting, number one, and also the music, man, it just tied everything in, your emotions at the end. It's beautifully done. And that was David Chase and Martin Brucely that handled all the music on the show.
No, the music was fantastic. And it's funny you mentioned those tie-ins to creating the whole piece, right?
Yep.
Because you a lot of people don't know this, but you're also a director.
That's right.
You're looking to direct a few films now, but there's a film on Amazon Prime now that you did. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? You told me about it, and it's funny because I had seen it on there. And it was in my queue to watch, but I hadn't watched it yet. So I figured I'd watch it before you came on today.
Oh, cool, man. Thank you.
Let's talk about that film so people can watch it and see your. And you have a cameo in it too.
I do, yeah. With the big
I noticed that.
The film takes place in 1973 in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and it actually started. Now, this is a very interesting thing because if there are any filmmakers out there, I think that they might find this information interesting. That film was born as a short film first, like Sling Blade. Sling Blade, I don't know if you know that, but it was actually a short film and then became a feature. The short film that I did was written by. Actually, is an attorney by trade, but he's really an artist. He's a writer, Michael Risigliano. Michael wrote this film called Lily of the Feast, and I read it. I said, let's shoot this. So I produced it, directed, and played the lead in it. I played Santo, the banker, because it's called. We changed the title in the feature to The Brooklyn Banker.
Right,
so we
which
were
is the name of the long form film.
Exactly. So with that short film, we put it in the film festival circuit, and it literally won awards across the line. I mean, it was really cool. And Paul Sorvino reprises his role in the feature film. But basically, the film revolves around a banker who's got this rare gift for memorizing numbers, and he's like this like brilliant guy, and so. He's embroiled. He gets embroiled in a scheme from his father-in-law, which is played by Paul Sorvino.
With the guys in the neighborhood.
Yeah. It's like a neighborhood kind of film, but it takes place in the 70s. So this kind of thing where all the information is in your mind, especially with numbers, was invaluable to the mob back then, And so basically this father-in-law embroils his son-in-law in a scheme to steal money from the boss of the area. But there's a lot of twists and turns in it, and it's a really fun film. I've got a special place in my heart because I've been directing a lot of shorts over the years, and written and directed commercials. But this was my first feature film. So, and I've got several features down the road that I'll be directing as well.
Nice.
Nice.
So great. Fans can check that out. So we got to meet you or contact you at least because you obviously are a cigar smoker. I want to tap into that. Yep. How did you get into cigars?
You want to really hear the real story?
Absolutely.
Oh man, back in 2001, after everything happened in New York, with 9/11, Mayor Giuliani was leaving office, and there was a big party for Giuliani. It was a big party for him, and it was at one of the Hilton Hotel on 6th Avenue. And so A lot of us from Sopranos were there. We were supporting him. He was, did a great job during that time. And I had done a couple of things in the inner circle with Rudy Giuliani. So we knew each other. So after this event was over, he came over, made a beeline to me and said, "Federico, why don't you come up and have a cigar with me and my friends?" So I'm thinking, he's inviting everybody up there. It's going to be a second party or something. And I said, well, I said, Mr. Mayor, I said, I have my two friends with me here. I said, one of them was my framer who frames my paintings. And the other one was sort of a Wall Street guy. He's donated a lot to Giuliani's campaign. So we went upstairs. I'm thinking it's going to be this big party. We're going there. It's him and his wife-to-be, Judy, I believe her name is, and a United States admiral. I'm like, he goes, "Federico, come on in. Here, have a cigar." He hands me a cigar. Never smoked a cigar before in my life.
Wow.
And then my other friends didn't either. So we're all looking at each other. And the one guy goes, "I think you got to cut the end." So he chops the end. We're all like smoking. I didn't even know how I was puffing it at the time. It was like really ridiculous. But anyway, that was my intro to smoking a cigar. But I actually found it quite relaxing, And over the years, we wound up doing cigar aficionado shoots, and I got a little bit more acclimated with cigars because of the show as well.
That was one of the most popular covers ever on that magazine.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, right?
Yeah,
we had this photographer that we thought was a little nutty, but man, those photos, they came out great.
It's funny because I always talk about how cigars bring people together, and so you're naming people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Armando Santi, who's actually who sat in this room at least 3 or 4 times.
That's
Mayor
cool.
Giuliani, who's a good friend of our shops, has been
here all the time.
Been to the Great Smoke, has sat in this office a couple times. That's the cool thing about the cigar community when you get involved, because no matter where you come from or what your background is, I always feel like it's a cohesive glue that makes everybody relate.
Yeah.
Almost instantly. You could be on vacation. You could be on vacation somewhere. Don't know anybody. Out on a mountain somewhere, and you can see a dude 100 yards away smoking a cigar, and your immediate urge is, let me walk up to that guy, see what he's smoking.
He's your buddy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
He becomes your instant friend, where like, if you weren't smoking cigars, you're glad there's 100 yards between you and somebody else. So
yeah, when we did Sopranos Con, we came up with the idea of doing a Sopranos Con cigar, sort of like a special edition cigar. And I had at the time I met these people from Newark, the Jimenez family, and the Jimenez cigars are really good. They're Cuban. They the mother still rolls to this day, and she was rolling since she was 16 years old. And
wow.
So that was a really nice cigar too. But lately, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I've been really digging the Plasencias. This one right here.
Well, yeah,
That's
Alma Fuerte, man. This is a beautiful, beautiful cigar. Look at this.
I'm very happy for them because your Plasencia is.
Where is it? Here. There it is.
Plasencia made phenomenal cigars for other people for so many years, and for a long time. And they had tried to break out with their own line. They had organic.
That's right.
A while back, I'm talking about maybe 20 years ago. Yep. Never really had success with putting their family name on a brand, but would make successful cigars for all these other companies.
Exactly.
And then this time around, they really got either the packaging, the branding, everything right, because the sticks are phenomenal and they've been doing great. I mean, they're very popular and they're doing very, very well this time around. So
yeah, we had them on, and I had the opportunity to smoke a few that they brought.
That's cool.
When they
Which
released
ones
the
did
brand,
you smoke?
every single line that they came out with. The Alma Fuerte I've had.
Yeah. That's a fantastic one, man. I talked to them about doing. Well, I don't want to say it right now because it's just in the beginning stages. But when we have this other cigar that I'm thinking of, that I'm talking about right now, we would love to come on and talk about it.
Absolutely.
I
mean, look, there was a renaissance in the late 90s. It was like a renaissance where cigars were very Hollywood chic.
That's right. Yeah. And Schwarzenegger, every picture you saw Schwarzenegger, and he had a cigar.
And there was many actors who delved into coming out with their own brands, and for whatever reason, none of them really, endured the test of time.
Mhm.
But it's good to see a little bit of this renaissance come back around, because that's where I'm starting to feel like, is part of Hollywood is kind of happening a little bit again, like it was before. Maybe not to the same level, but I'm starting to see it and hear it more often.
Yeah, there's a place called Casa de Monte Cristo, JR's, which is right here in East Hanover, New Jersey, which is literally minutes away from me. So, I go there with my friends all the time. Have a couple sticks, and they have actually pretty good food there too. And so yeah, I don't know if you guys ever have been there.
We've been to a few of the Casa stores. They're all over the country, and what's funny is because they converted a lot of the old JRs into the Casa de Monte Cristos. And our other guest today is actually Lew Rothman, the guy who founded JR Cigars. So
fantastic, man! Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a pretty cool show. We got a couple pretty legendary people on our show today.
So one other thing I want to mention. Go ahead.
Wait. The guy down there, he talks too much. He doesn't shut up. What the hell's going on with this guy? He can't even get a word in edgewise.
I like to listen sometimes.
Well, listen, I'm the one who feels culturally deficient here. I'm the only non-Italian in the room.
Hey, but the thing is, you look
Paul
Italian.
Doesn't really count. That's true. He could pass.
Paul doesn't count. Listen,
Paul doesn't count.
Siciliano, Napolitan.
Parli italiano.
Parli italiano. Un poco. Very little.
Bravo.
I always say I'm Italian by consumption.
That's a good one, man. That's a good one.
I want to mention before we let Federico go, because we were talking a little bit about this yesterday in our pre-interview, but he just finished filming a movie called The Mick and the Trick. That's directed by Tom DiNucci, and Peter Green's in it, Richard Klein, who else is? John Fiore. So just tell us a little bit about that and where people will be able to see it. Will they be able to go to?
It's in post-production right now. I think rough assembly has been done, as far as I heard. Tom DiNucci is a wonderful director. I worked with him for the first time, but he shot a film called Vault, which did pretty well. And that was shot up in Rhode Island. Mick and the Trick basically is a dark humor. There's a lot of dark humor underlying, but it's about this hitman, Peter Green, who's been doing these murders, for these two families, a Cuban family and then there's an Irish family, and so he's been sending all the money. He's been doing it as a mercenary. He's been sending all of the money to the IRA. And so the IRA they're not doing anything anymore. It's like, what the hell is the sense? I'm out of this. He's like, he tells them that he's going to get out. And so they're like, no, we want you to do another job. You got to do this last job for us. And so that's where everything starts. They decide this guy's not going to do it. He knows too much. They're going to kill him. And he almost bites the dust. I don't want to give away too much, but he almost bites the dust. And then this woman, because he falls off of a building into this all this garbage and everything, and he kills the guy that was. So this woman, you see her, her legs and everything from the point of view, of his point of view, and she grabs him and brings him to this apartment. You find out that it's a transvestite, and this transvestite helps him get through all of this, navigate through all of this stuff, But it's there's a lot more involved. I play, a detective that's sort of like basically a dirty detective, and I'm hired as well in order to take him out.
Dirty detective? Never.
It's like, no, I'm dirty. I have a lot of stuff on my face, just like mud and,
Is it true? I heard when you were shooting, you had to take a COVID test every 2 days.
Every 2 days. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. You couldn't get on. Listen, they were being very, very careful. Everybody had masks. Everybody, from whoever was on the set. I mean, they took temperatures before you even got into the building. They were being very careful, and also because SAG, I mean, they enforced it heavily,
Right.
Everybody was really serious about doing it safely and properly,
Well, that's good, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, that now is that out now? That show?
No, it's in post-production right now, so I'm sure it's probably towards the end of the year it's going to be out.
But right now you can watch The Brooklyn Banker if you have Amazon Prime. It's up there. Yeah, I highly suggest it. I enjoyed it, and
Thank you
there's
so
a
much.
lot of things that Abe you'll like about it because there's little intricacies, especially in the beginning setup it's the kind of thing that you like because you have to think about them. So I'm gonna actually watch it again so that I can see the things that I missed from the beginning because the beginning has a lot of clues to the end, and it was well done. It was well shot, well done. It's very good.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it,
Yeah.
man. And yeah, a lot of people that have seen it more than one time say they really enjoyed it even more, actually.
Which part do you enjoy the most?
Painting. I'm a painter. I studied.
I've seen that. Yeah.
So now we have to ask, when we got you on, we asked, where did the inspiration from the painting come from? Who inspired you for that?
It's an innate talent. It's in my family. It's in my blood. And,
really?
Yeah, I've been painting ever since I can remember, and I studied on full scholarship to the School of Visual Arts right out of high school. I won a scholarship for painting and media arts. I illustrated for a while. The illustration world was changing right around the time that I guess it was the mid to late '80s, where computer graphics were really taking charge and coming in, and people a lot of designers and illustrators were moving towards that. And I saw the writing on the wall. I said, that's not in my heart. I'm a painter. So I decided to get out of illustration and just start painting what I wanted to paint, which was a lot of portraits, still life paintings, and landscape. I went to France one year. There was a friend of mine, Jeffrey Holder. I don't know if you remember him. You guys remember Jeffrey Holder? Jeffrey Holder. Okay, you guys will probably remember this. He was the guy, the 7-Up commercials. Remember?
Yeah.
Onion cola.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. 6'5".
Yeah,
black
Jamaican guy.
Jamaican. Yeah, exactly. He was from Trinidad.
Okay.
So, I met him because there was a collector buying one of my works, and he was buying one of his, and he says, "Would you like to meet him?" I said, "I never knew he was a painter." So we became fast friends. I curated a museum exhibition with me, him, and 2 other painters. And I don't know, I just lost my train of thought. Why did I get on that?
Why have you done the painting and what inspired you painting? And you're talking about your school.
Exactly. So So basically what I did was I just started painting what I wanted to paint and then selling it through galleries and sometimes privately. So if people would commission me to do, different portraits and things like that. I do very few commissions now, unless I really like the commission. I just like to paint what I like to paint, and so it's usually still life. And portraits are because I paint from life. I basically set up a still life, I light it, and then I just go to town painting. And when it comes to working on portraits, I like to work from life. And with my schedule and people's others, it's very difficult for people to sit. So I hate working from photographs. Doing paintings from photographs. Hold on a second.
That's all right.
Here.
So
sorry.
I don't know if this is an improper question to ask, but I'm just curious. And if it is, you could tell me. But
no,
what's the most one of your pieces has ever sold for?
Close to a couple 100,000.
Oh,
yeah. Actually, we just went to see it. I was down in Boca. That's where it is. Actually, the painting is in the public space in Boca Raton Regional Hospital, and it's a large painting of 3 women on a beach, and there's a little boy drawing a heart in the sand. It was a commission from Christine E. Lynn back in 2006, and I brought Paul Servino into the fray, and he created a sculpture that sort of went in tandem with this painting. They're separated now because I went there with Armand Asante and his wife and 2 of my friends, and we went to go. It was where they originally put it. They moved it to another place. That was a temporary place, so that's the only hospital that I knew it was in. And then they moved it to I think it's the Women's Cancer Center or something like that.
So Paul Servino does sculpting.
He does, yeah. He's very, very multifaceted guy, Music, he sings opera. Brilliant guy.
And here, I just thought he could slice garlic with a razor blade,
which is it's not that easy to do. I'll tell you.
Right, right.
It's not. Wow, what a story. Now, I have to ask, because there's so many questions going on the screen, it's very hard for me to keep up. But
yeah, man,
they want to know which cast members from The Sopranos were you the closest with?
See, I knew a lot of, working with or outside of we were all very close, I have to say. I mean, it was,
all right, who's the most fun to work with then?
Tony Sirico, definitely, man.
I could guess it.
Tony was like a fucking, I mean, literally the things that would come out of his mouth, even off screen. I mean, just like when we were standing around, you just shake your head and just crack up laughing, man.
He's one of those characters that as a viewer at home and you watch, you almost say to yourself, he's not really acting, is he?
Right.
He was. Largely, I mean, that's what you saw was what you got.
That's what I'm saying.
But
you see a character and you just feel like.
Can I tell you something about Tony Sirico? I thought he was brilliant. I thought what he did was he really modeled himself, and he'll tell you himself. I mean, he modeled himself after, like those actors from the 40s, 40s and 50s. Actually, some 30s, 40s, that type of thing. And if you look at the way he stands with his hands like this, and he's like his legs are a little bit apart, and he's got this. That is from James Cagney. He got that from James Cagney, and he loved Cagney's work. And you'll see that that posture in his work. And but that whole thing with the white. I mean, he developed that because obviously he had white hair, but he colored the rest of it black.
He did his hair himself too.
He did his hair.
Rumors,
right? Couldn't get anywhere near his hair.
And then he would complain about wardrobe that would touch his hair, right?
Don't touch the hair. Yeah. So he was definitely a great character, man, on and off screen.
Those are usually, as far as when I'm watching, whether it be a series or something, those are usually the characters you fall in love with because you just don't feel, you just feel like that's them.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things I liked about Eastwood. When you watch an Eastwood movie or some of his movies, you feel like, that's just kind of Clint. You feel like that's really him.
Right. Hey, can I tell you a quick Clint story or no?
Yeah, one of my favorite actors. Yes.
Okay, me too. I was very inspired by Clint Eastwood growing up. Watching all the westerns that he did. Oh. We call them spaghetti westerns, but and a lot of those actors were all Italian. I mean, they were speaking Italian, and then they dubbed the English words over that.
That's why they called them the spaghetti westerns.
Exactly. So, but they were all brilliant faces and stuff. I mean, Sergio Leone, man, he was like, guy was brilliant just for picking out these characters. So I was in Rancho Mirage with I'll drop a couple names, it's okay. So I was in Rancho Mirage with the manager of the band Chicago. He had a place out there. I was staying out there, and he says, "Let's go to dinner. It's this great Italian restaurant, the best in Rancho Mirage." So I said, "Yeah, okay, cool. We'll go there." And as we parked, we get out of the car, walking, and there's the windows are all, it's all windows, you can see everybody in the place, and it was packed. All of a sudden, I said to Peter Chivarelli, his name was, I said, "Peter," I said, "What that? Look at that, man. I think that's Clint Eastwood." He goes, "Where?" He's like, "There's so many people in there." It's like, we go in there, and the maitre d' comes over. He goes, "Mr. Castelluccio, how are you?" It's a pleasure to have you in our restaurant. I said, "Excuse me." He said, Is that Clint Eastwood over there?" He said, "Oh, yes, sir. That is Mr. Eastwood." I said, "Here." Gave him the card. I said, "Pay for him and his two friends." So when the bill came, the guy goes, "No, Mr. Soprano over there, you could pay for it." So, it was really nice because he came over, and one of the guys knew my friend's wife. Their wives knew each other, so they started talking. Pete started talking to the other guy, and I was left there with Clint Eastwood. Wow. And I was like, "Clint, yeah." He said, "Mr. Eastwood," I said, it gave me so much inspiration over the years. I used to watch you, in the westerns and Dirty Harry. I mean, I love Dirty Harry. I know that thing by heart. The one. Anyway, So I'm skipping all over the place because I was really excited to meet him, and he thanked me for taking care of the check, and then he said, all my friends watch The Sopranos. He goes, I've never watched it, sorry to say, but I just got it. He says, I just got the box set for Christmas. So he goes, I plan to watch it. So cut to a few years later, we're at the Screen Actors Guild. He's getting the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Wow.
And at the time, I was dating a girl that was on, an actress that was on The Sopranos. And she knew the whole story. And she goes, there he is. It was at the end where everybody's going to go to have dinner and stuff. And she goes, he's just standing there. You just go over there. And I said, no, forget it. That's 2 years ago. He'll never remember me. That's it. He's never. So she pushes me towards him. And so he turns around and I said, Mr. Eastwood, first of all, congratulations. A couple of years ago, I was in Rancho Mirage at this restaurant. He goes, I owe you dinner. I'm like, holy shit, man.
That's great.
That was it, man. It was really cool. But wow. It was nice that he remembered,
Well,
that's amazing.
Listen, Fred, I hope you come back on the show. Keep us posted with all the cool stuff you'll be doing with virtual cons and
Thank you.
your other projects. And please, next time you're in town, come by, visit us.
I will.
We'll
Absolutely.
have a cigar.
We'll be back and forth. We're going to be doing some stuff with Placencia, like I said. So,
Great.
we'd love to come into the studio and do something there as well.
Awesome. And please keep us posted. We'd love to keep all our fans and all of the guys who are cigar lovers out there, just keep in touch and keep up with the good things that you're doing.
Thanks, Abe. You got it, man. Paul, thank you. And what is his name?
Alex.
What is it? Alan?
Alex.
Alex, good to meet you. And next time, if you say another word, that's
I apologize.
All right, guys.
Hey, we appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for coming
on. Virtual cons, all right? Just
you can download the app right now.
You can find the app in the App Store, or do you have to go to the website?
Virtualcons.com. It's going to be in the App Store, I believe. I think Apple is putting it up. But, yeah, definitely. You can go online right now, and download it as well.
Virtualcons.com.
Thanks, guys.
Hey,
awesome.
All right, coming up in hour 2, we got Lew Rothman, Tail of the Tape, and Who Belongs in a Cigar Asylum. Stick around. Keep it lit.
Hold on, I wasn't ready.
That was cute.
Okay, now I'm ready.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I know, I'm going.
Surgeon General warning. Cigar smoking can cause cancers of the mouth and throat, even if you do not inhale. Celebrating 85 years of success, the Monte Cristo 1935 anniversary is a tribute to the outstanding accomplishments Monte Cristo has achieved since the brand's inception. This cigar comes from the creative minds of Rafael Nadal, AJ Fernandez, and the Grupo de Maestros. It is a full-body Nicaraguan puro that pays homage to the original tobaccos used in the very first Monte Cristo cigar. Flavor notes you'll detect while smoking are pepper, cedar, and chocolate, all of which pair perfectly with a cappuccino. No matter what 4 sizes you pick, this classic smoke will send you on a trip down memory lane and all the way back to 1935. Surgeon General warning. Cigar smoking can cause cancers of the mouth and throat, even if you do not inhale.
Ferio Tego. Wait, hold on, I gotta get the ascot. Ferio Tego. Oh, sorry. I'm just auditioning, or about to audition for my new job. But I wanted to tell you about Bonner Private Wines, and well, that's what I'm sipping on right now to ease the little bit of jitters I have. I was trying to get the Michael Herklotz look going here. I got the ascot, and well, while I'm doing it, I want to sip some of our friends at Bonner Private Wines Select Wine, and you can do that too. It's real simple. All you have to do is go to kmawines.com. Now, Bonner Private Wines has selections from all over Argentina, and one of them is from the 3rd highest vineyard in the world. It's called Sunal. It's from 8,950 feet. There's no additives to their wine that will add weird aftertaste that will give you, headaches the next day. It's just a really good, solid red wine that you should really check out. So KMAWines.com is offering you, KMA listeners, a real great discount so you can enjoy this wonderful wine. Just go there. They'll give you a discount on shipping and a discount on a 3-bottle pack. It's something that we've all been enjoying and that I'm enjoying now while I get ready to do a Skype interview with an unknown brand. Of course, I don't want to talk about who it is. So with that, check out BonnerPrivateWines.com. I'll send it back to you, Abe, while I just practice a little bit and finish this.
I guess that wasn't a pre-recorded one. He eventually will do a pre-recorded one, but heck of a first hour there. What a great guest, Fed. I mean, we didn't know we were going to have him until the last second. So, that's kind of how it is with a lot of these guys. But I think it was a pretty cool and a lot of great stories. We hope our fans and listeners out there enjoyed that segment.
Yeah.
So was that not pre-recorded?
No, and I'll tell you,
clearly not pre-recorded.
I've been having issues with my computer. So last night when we were going to pre-record it, it didn't work. But I will have a pre-recorded one for the next time I'm not on the show.
You could do it with your phone.
No, because I don't like the way it looks. I tried it. It comes up to, even if you do it landscape, it's a weird format. So I'm going to do it with.
If you do it early enough, you could send it to Brian to edit it down.
I guess I could do that. I was just going to do it with this program that we use.
The best we can afford. But let's not waste any more time since we have another epic guest today. Let's get right into our Meet Your Maker.
We'll get right into it. Here we go.
I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell.
It's time to meet your maker.
Wow.
A man that really needs no introduction. One of the great legends in our industry, Mr. Lew Rothman. Lew, welcome to KMA.
Thank you. I am not too happy about being a legend because the prerequisite is either to be old or dead.
It's a valid point.
It's a valid.
I'll take it away.
Yeah, no more legend stuff.
So Lew, that
was an interesting guy. That Castelluccio, he was interesting.
You know what's interesting, because when as a person who watches shows, and if you really don't deep dive, you see this character who's playing obviously an enforcer, a mafia enforcer, and you never really stop to really think about a guy. Now you find out the guy's a painter, he's selling paintings, he's directing, he's doing commercials. I mean, it's kind of nice to actually get to meet somebody intimately like that you watched on TV for almost a decade.
Yeah, when we did the cigar magazine, we had a couple of them guys that we did stories on. So I got to meet the guy Frank Vincent. I don't know if you remember the episode, but when they caught up to him, they put his head under the wheel of a car and drove over his head.
Frankie Vincent.
And then the other one was the guy who played Big Pussy, Vinny Pastore.
Yep.
This Frank Vincent guy, when he came, they were going to, they had to take pictures of him for the magazine. And he sat down at this table in our conference room, and he unrolled this leather thing. It was like a whole kit of hair brushes and combs and whatnot. And he was combing his hair for like 20 minutes before he would let us take a picture of him.
Now, Lew, we talked a little bit with Fed about the Renaissance in the cigar industry. And, you were around during that time when there was a lot of actors, George Hamilton and a couple of the other guys you mentioned, where all these actors kind of got into making a brand or having their name or image used for a brand. None of those brands really ever endured the test of time or really sustained. Any opinions on why you think that is?
Because they were all shit cigars.
That's why you gotta love having Lew on the show.
At the time of what you call the cigar boom, it takes 3 years to really get tobacco ready to make a cigar, and because the industry expanded so fast, we got to a point where there was no 3-year-old tobacco to use, and they started bringing in tobaccos from Indonesia called Basuki, which was really shit, but you could make a cigar out of it. And so the whole, unfortunately, at the time when new people were getting into the industry, not new makers, but new smokers,
right,
the cigars were not good. In other words, at the best time when we could make new users in the industry,
we were putting out substandard products.
And they didn't know any better.
Well, I had no choice. I mean, all sorts of people were coming down to Honduras and Nicaragua. Guys who were dentists, doctors, people thought they could make some money by going down there and buying cigars at any price, and then making some off the wall, what we call Don Nobody brands.
Don Nobody, that's a great line. Hashtag Don Nobody.
Yeah, so they were selling essentially crap, and like some of the importers were bringing in just anything they could find. Some of the manufacturers were making cigars with anything they could find. I saw cigars being made with tobacco that had blue mold.
Oh gosh.
Well, but they needed to use anything they could get a hold of.
And blends would be changed, and wrappers would be changed for the same lines at that time, right?
Yeah, and some of the people that best would change their cigars every week. But a lot of cigars were being made with what we call capadura. You know what capadura is?
No, Lou, tell us.
Well, after you prime the plant, it's about 7 primings where you take off the leaves as they're mature. And then the stalk will grow these little pieces that are 2, 3, 4 inches long.
Oh, okay.
And that was actually being harvested and used. They were making cigars out of capadura, which prior to that, we used to just plow the thing under the ground to increase the nitrogen content of the soil.
So it was used as fertilizer, pretty much.
Yeah, right, to enrich the soil, correct.
Wow.
And the top leaves, which are called Ligero, the very powerful tobaccos that are on the top leaves. Before the cigar boom, nobody used that stuff. Nobody used Ligero. It was all sold to people that made chewing tobacco. For its nicotine content. But then then you started having these people that wanted stronger and stronger and stronger cigars. And that's when the use of Ligero started coming into the cigar business. Prior to that, you used to advertise cigars as being fresh, factory fresh, and mild. No more mild. Now it's like power.
Right.
Well, I mean, listen, it's always funny because this is kind of a conversation I have with patrons in the shop all the time, right? The Connecticut mild cigars are still the number 1 selling cigars across the board. And people don't realize that because they're the cigars nobody talks about. So, they're consumed the most. Statistically, they sell the most, but it's just the non-exciting cigars. It's like I compare it like to sweet and sour chicken in a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah, like that cigar you have, Affinity. I mean, that's a fairly nice mild cigar.
It's a great cigar, and it sells like phenomenally, but no one even talks about Affinity or whatever because it's like I said, it's like the sweet and sour chicken of a Chinese restaurant. Right. Nobody ever says they make great sweet and sour chicken. It's the dish that's served in every Chinese restaurant in the country. It's like the common core dish. Right. So
right now you see all these cigars where they say only 1,000 boxes of 10 cigars are being made. Well, now you're talking about 10,000 cigars. That doesn't even keep a good factory going for an hour. So that's all bullshit. A bulk of tobacco, you're talking about a couple of tons of tobacco. I mean, it makes hundreds and hundreds of thousands of cigars. So when they say they have, they're using these tobaccos, they say that's all crap.
So what are you saying, Lou? It's sensualized?
No, they're just putting more names on the same stuff. I mean, listen, I was a master at putting more names on the same stuff. I had 89 brands out there at one time.
Now, one of your creations that still exists today was JR Alternatives.
Yeah, JR Alternatives, Excalibur, I made that. Rey del Mundo, I made that.
So you marketed regular line production lines that were good sellers, and you made your company's alternative version of that.
Yeah, well, when we started, they really weren't alternatives. They were the same cigars. You know, I would go to, you know, somebody like General Cigar and say, you know, I want a 6.5 42 cigar, which was the Macanudo Rothschild, you know, and I want 250,000 of them in bundles of 20, you know, and I would buy them at a not significantly, not substantial, incredibly lower price, incredibly lower, because that's what a factory needs. What they need is orders where they know everything that they're making is being sold, not to make it and try to sell it. It's better to have it sold and then make it.
Not true.
Absolutely.
True. So basically, you were saying that the JL alternatives weren't really alternatives in the beginning. They were actually that cigar.
Yeah, every brand was, you know, the alternatives to Fuente were made by Fuente. The alternatives to Macanudo were made by General Cigar. The alternatives to Don Diego were made by what was then Consolidated Cigar. Yeah, they were all the real thing. The Hoyos were Hoyos, the Punches were Punches. Every size that existed in Punch or Hoyo had an alternative that was Punch or Hoyo. It was just cheaper.
Wow.
And then a lot of the cigars were the same cigars. We had a number called NN77. It was made by Arturo Fuente. And that was basically half the production of their entire factory. And we must have made like 50 different alternatives out of the same cigar. What we did was we tried to match up the wrapper, the binder, and the filler to what the real brand was. So after the cigars were no longer the same cigars, they still were cigars with the same content. Today, I've been out of JR for a while, so I can't say what they make.
So Lou, I got to ask, because you know I've had the honor of knowing you and being friends with you now for many years. So you're here now after many years of retirement, and basically, correct me if I'm wrong, you're basically telling people out there that you kind of misled them in your career about what they were smoking.
I never misled anybody.
So they just weren't really alternatives, I guess. That's what you're saying.
When I said that, I said that you're smoking a Macanudo Rothschild for whatever, you know.
Right.
For whatever it was at the time, 75 cents at the beginning, or 70 cents at the
They were
beginning.
75 cents in the beginning? Holy cow.
I sold them, they were 65 cents also.
Wow.
You know, they kept going up in price. Well, like a Quester A95. I don't know what it costs. What does it sell for now? $5 or $6?
Well, more than that, probably.
Well, we used to sell a box of 50 for $12.95.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Wow.
So I mean, the increase in prices is just, it's staggering. Well, listen, I was in the cigarette business too. You know, I remember I used to sell cartons of cigarettes at billboards on the highway. You know, $5.99, $6.99 for a carton. Now, if I go into, I smoke True Blue, just $115 a carton now.
In New York?
No, this is in Florida. In New York, it's about $145.
Jeez.
For a carton? That's how much cartons are? Wow.
Yeah, New York, like $14 a pack, $15.
Yeah, and I used to buy, you know, like almost 10 cartons for the price of one carton. But isn't that the same with cars? You ever think like a Jeep could be $100,000? They have a new Jeep out, Grand Wagoneer. It's $100,000 for a Jeep.
For a Jeep?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is crazy. So Lou, you come down here 6 months a year. You visit. How was 2020 for you? I mean, how you were stuck in New York for a long time. How did you cope with that?
Well, one of the things I actually did is I made a cigar museum. With you know, I collect. Something happened with the sound just now. Am I on?
I think it's. Yeah, you're on. I think it's better now. I heard a little warble.
Yeah, I had nothing to do, and I had hundreds of cases of cigars, boxes that I collected because I'm a cigar historian, and they were all just stacked up in my carriage house, and I decided fuck it, I'll unpack all this stuff and put it out. And I made what is essentially a cigar museum. Of course, it's a museum that nobody can see because of COVID. But I think after everybody has the vaccine and whatnot, then I get on this internet thing periodically called, well, now it's called Cigar Billboard. It used to be called Herfer's Paradise. And I might invite some of those guys if they live in the New Jersey area.
I've seen the pictures, Lou. Maybe one day we'll come up and just do a video of the room. It's an amazing room. He's got like eras of stuff. And it's big. How many square feet is it?
About 2,000 square feet.
That's big.
Wow.
Actually, today I was going to come on the show smoking these small cigars called Cahoo, Cahoo. They're about 100 years old, but I couldn't find the box. It's in my bedroom. Is all the walls are lined with cigar boxes too.
It is.
So,
What is a 100-year-old cigar? Is there flavor left in it?
They're fantastic.
Really?
We're talking about handmade, Perfectos and Obsequio cigars that sold for like 6 cents, 5 cents.
Right.
This Cahoo cigar, I wanted to bring it on because the writing on the box is suggesting that it cures coughs. You don't cough if you smoke.
Wow.
They used to be
funny.
able, these are like snake oil salesmen. They used to
Right.
be able to say anything that they wanted. So, but
Doctors used to tell you to smoke sometimes when you were having throat issues. Smoke some cigarettes. It'll help ease your throat.
Oh yeah. There were a lot of Ronald Reagan used to do a lot of those ads. John Wayne, whatever. So my friend and the guy who used to buy all my mass market tobacco stuff, Ed McVeigh, he came over my carriage house when I was back in New Jersey, and we were smoking some 6-cent cigars that were incredible. And I said to him, these are expensive because look at these. These are 3 for a nickel.
3 for a nickel.
Yeah. Wow. Hey, I remember when I was a kid, my father had, like an open window luncheonette to the street in Brooklyn, right where that guy Castelluccio, Murder Incorporated was on our block. This is Amboy Street in Brooklyn. So my father had an open windowed store there, it's a luncheonette, but we also sold cigars. And the most expensive cigar we had was a La Corona Corona. They were 35 cents, 3 for $1. And the store was always busy. And I'm telling you for a fact, if a guy came in and said to me he wants 3 La Corona Corona cigars, even though the store was busy and noisy, there would be dead silence in the store. Like, who the hell is spending $1 for 3 cigars?
Wow.
In those days, there were people, a great job was construction at $3 an hour, so I'm talking to just a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Lou's been on our show multiple times over the years, and one of my favorite stories that you've told us, Lew, and our listeners and our reach is a lot bigger today over the 10 years. So many of our listeners probably haven't heard it. But one of my favorite stories is the story that you tell us of how you pioneered being the first guy to make a catalog in the cigar industry.
Well, it was, it was, I learned everything by adversity, so to speak. I had put an ad. A guy came into our store. I'm trying to remember his name now. Lavonda would know it because she wrote the first order. Oh, John Reed. He was from Austin, Texas. And he bought a box of cigars from what's called Valencia Corona Grams. It was made by Simon Camacho. It was a 35-cent cigar. And he bought a box of them. I think it was like $6.95. Our store was 14 feet wide and 31 feet long. About the size of my bathroom here.
Wow.
But I put up a sign that covered the entire window. It was made out of a bed sheet. I just wrote on it with a magic marker. said world's largest cigar store. And so the guy buys this box of cigars, and then he asks us, could we mail to him? And I said to him, yeah, of course. You don't think we can make a living in this tiny place, do you? Our biggest, our main business is mail order. Well, we had never mail ordered anything. But a day or two before that, they were doing construction on 6th Avenue, and somebody had taken a cinder block and thrown it through our front door. It was made out of glass. And they busted open the stamp machine. This is the days when they used to put like 22 cents worth of stamps in a little cardboard thing, and you put a quarter in the machine and you got 22 cent stamps, 22 cents worth of stamps out of it.
Right.
Anyway, the guy broke open the machine, whoever broke our door. He stole all the coins, and he left all the stamps all over the floor. And my wife said to me, what are we going to do with all these stamps? I said, let's go in the mail order business. That's how it started.
Yep. Now,
Wow.
Wait, you made your first catalog, right?
Yeah, well, then that gave me the idea. Why don't I put an ad in the New York Times? I'm going to take the 10 best-selling cigars that we have, which at the time were Don Diego Lonsdale, Monte Cruz number 220. It was all these Lonsdale-sized cigars, which were the big thing at the time. And so I'm just going to put them all in there at cost in this ad, and run an ad in the New York Times. I think the ad was like $22, something like that. Any rate, and it's,
Wow.
in the ad I wrote catalog on request. Well, we didn't have a catalog, so we got over 700 responses to the ad. So then I had to make a catalog. So there was a place called Lafayette Radio 2 doors down the street, and this guy Marty that I knew, I went in there and asked him if I could borrow a typewriter, and I started typing a catalog, just on typewriter paper, leaving space for pictures of cigars, which I didn't know anything about making a catalog. So I just took the real cigars and glued them to the page in the spaces that I left. And then I brought them to this guy, Norman, diagonally across the street from us. It was one of these quick printing places. And he just laughed at me. He said, this is not how you do it. You need photos of the cigars. So then I took all the stuff back. I took all the cigars off the page, and I walked down to Broadway, which was a block away, and it was a place that did passport pictures. And I brought the cigars in there, and I asked this guy who normally does passports to take pictures of them cigars, which he did. So then I took the cigars and cut them out, and I pasted them in the spots on the thing, and I brought it back to Norman. And then he said to me, you don't do it this way. In order to print, the cigars have to be screened, 65 dots to the inch. But I didn't really have any way to do that, so I told him, just do it. And so my catalog, the first one we made was they were just pitch black images of cigars in the right size. And because Marty needed a typewriter back, I did the rest of the thing just printing the stuff by hand.
Wow.
And then me and Movanda put them into envelopes, and we walked all over the city just putting like 5 or 6 catalogs in each mailbox, because we thought if we put them all in one mailbox, maybe the mailman might throw them away. But at any rate, that's how it started. And
wow.
And we got it, and then
the people who got these catalogs would then have to call you to place their orders.
Yeah. One of the calls was incredible. This guy gets on the phone. Hang on a minute.
Love it.
So I get this call in the store. This guy gets on the phone. He says to me, stand by. You have a call from the Commander-in-Chief of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Armed Forces of the United States of America. And I said to him, I think you got the wrong number. This is a cigar store. And he said, no. And then he repeated the whole thing. And it was, then he put me on the phone with the guy who's the commander-in-chief of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I forget.
Oh, my God.
I think his name was VC or some name like that. And he ordered 4 boxes of Royal Jamaica Director No. 1s, which was pretty expensive cigar at the time, maybe like 80 cents. You know, it was even more expensive than a Monte Cruz.
I find it amazing that every time you tell me these stories, Lew doesn't hesitate to tell you exactly what that person bought.
Yeah.
Every time.
You know, when I opened my first big store in North Carolina, which was what, 200 and something thousand square feet.
Was that in Burlington?
No, that was in Selma, North Carolina,
Selma, okay.
on I-95. So the very first person that comes in the door after we built this place, I recognized the guy. And I immediately went to the back and I got a box of Hoya de Monterey double Coronas and I put it on the counter. And the people that worked for me were absolutely staggered that I would know already what the first guy that ever entered the store wants. But he was a regular customer. I remember giving him a free cigar, you know, for my daughter's birth, because when she was born, I printed up. We didn't know if it was going to be a girl or a boy. That was before they did all these tests. So I made up like 5,000 Bansi's Palmers with the name of the boy and the name of the girl on it. And so. And
what'd you do with the ones with the boy's name? You
we sold them.
Of course he did.
I'd sell anything. But anyway, the people in the store wanted flabbergasted. How do I know what this guy wants before he even gets in the door? But he was a regular customer.
I'm honestly flabbergasted because every time you tell me a story like this, you remember exactly what they bought.
I used to know what everybody wanted, you know, because I don't anymore, but I used to have nearly a photographic memory. In fact, in the college I went to, which went out of business and changed its name, years after I graduated from there, it was called Kansas State Teachers College. Today it's called Emporia State something or other. It's part of the Kansas State University college system. So, years after I graduated from there, we went back to Kansas, where my wife comes from, and I went there just for the hell of it to see if any of the teachers I knew, you know, were still there. And in the social science department, they had one of my tests up there, because I always got 100 on every test. And this test, what had happened is there was a question I didn't know the answer to. And I wrote for the answer, I said, if you look on page 461 of the Herald Tribune World Almanac, you will find the answer. And that's where it was. That's where it was. And they marked it correct. Then they mounted the test and put it in a frame in the
Oh, wow.
So you didn't know the answer, but you knew where it could be found.
Yeah.
So that's as good as the right answer.
Absolutely.
Of course, in most instances, my memory was so incredible, I could read the page that stuff was on. Like, I've read all 98 of Edgar Rice Burroughs' books. He wrote about Tarzan, John Carter of Mars, you know, all these. And I've read those books so many times that it used to be, if you read a line in the book, I could tell you the next line.
Wow.
But that's nowhere near. Wait, I'm going to tell you a story about the most incredible magician there ever was. This guy's named Milton Gladstone. He was a customer of ours, and he liked a certain color of a cigar called Te Amo Torero. And he would make me open box after box after box until he found the right color. But he would buy every box of cigars I had that color. At any rate, he was a magician. He was partners with a guy named High Black. They formed the musicians team of Blackstone the Magician. It was actually Milton Gladstone and High Black. But he was not a performer. He had very shaky hands. And so he came in the store one day, and I said to him, I just saw the most amazing magician on TV. His name is Kreskin, and he does these incredible things. And he said to me, Kreskin is nothing. He said, one day when you're not ready for it, I'm going to do a trick for you. So about a week later, Milton Gladstone calls on the phone, and he says to me, "You sell cards?" And I said, "Playing cards?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "Get out a new deck, cut them up, shuffle them up, do anything you want to them." He said, "Now hand the deck to your wife and have her pick a card." So I did that. My wife picks out a card, and he says to me, 7 of clubs. And he was right, and this is on the telephone.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
So how the hell do you do that? It's just incredible. About a month later, Milton calls me again. He says, "Do you have a white pages directory for Manhattan?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Open it up." He said, "Have your wife point to any name." And she points to a name. He tells us what the name is. This is impossible. It's impossible.
You sure Lavonda just wasn't in on the trick?
No. We were both shocked. We actually had a customer named Lew Rothman, and he was the guy that invented tricks for magicians. You know, he would sell tricks to magicians. And he used to do sleight of hand shit that was incredible. You know, take a lit cigarette and slam it into his forehead and it would come out his ear. I mean, he could do phenomenal things. But this guy, Milton Gladstone, how do you pick out the card somebody's picking on the telephone?
My
It's
God.
incredible. So at any rate, I don't know how I got off on that thing. Oh, we were talking about my memory. I'm saying this guy was incredible.
No.
But my memory's not that good anymore. I have a hard time telling you what day it is.
Do you think that has to do with memory, or does that do with retirement? Because like during COVID, I lost track of what days were what days.
Yeah, you didn't need to know.
Yeah.
I think it has to, it has to do with aging. I mean, I still have a good memory, but not like before. Me and my partner, Mark Goldman, he used to own House of Oxford and Mom Cigars. We owned 7 stores together, and at one point, when we were going to go public, we had to divide up. What I did is, in order to make it simpler, I would own the stores that were in New Jersey, and he would own the stores in New York. But when we would do inventory together, we knew the wholesale cost of every box of cigars in every store. And we would walk around, and in an hour, we would do what it would take other people a couple of days to do.
Wow.
So, I just knew the wholesale price of everything. I know most of them. I mean, I can still tell you Bering Plaza was $187.50 a thousand.
We need to get Briggs to hear this.
Yeah. A&C Grenadiers were $131 a thousand. But if I had to buy them from Faber Cole and Gregg, who had an exclusive in New York City, I had to pay $134 a thousand. I mean, I just...
I'm that way when I buy stuff. I remember what I spend, but I'll ask my buyer, he'll get something new. I'm like, "Oh, what did we pay for that?" He goes,
let me check.
I'm like, "You just ordered it like last week."
Years ago, my cousin lived down here in Palm Beach, and actually, I first met him when he was 70 years old. I hadn't known him before.
You met your cousin for the first time when he was 70?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my family really didn't tell many stories about their past. So at any rate, he was coming back to New York with me, and he forgot his ticket. And there's a whole series of numbers on the ticket, when you get it through the email. And when he had used my computer to get it a couple of days before that, and when we got to the airport, I told him the number.
Oh my God!
It's like a 10-digit number. He was so shocked, but it just stuck in my head, man.
And it got him his ticket.
Yeah, and I don't know why that happens or how that happens, but it just does. I mean,
it's not something you trained yourself for. It's just something that's innate.
Yeah. Sometimes Lavonda will say that I didn't say something when I did say it, or that she didn't say something that she did say. But I can remember her lips moving, saying something.
Right, so she can't pull that one with you.
No, she does anyway because I give in. But no, Wanda has a great memory. She remembers everything that I ever did wrong in my life.
That's treacherous.
And I regret all those things, but they did happen. But I guess everybody has that.
Absolutely. So, Lew, you know, in your retirement now, do you keep up? Do you watch what's happening with your old company, what's going on with the cigar industry, or have you just kind of mentally phased yourself out of the industry?
Well, when Rob Norris and Rob Manison were there, I kept in pretty close contact with them, and they would call me. I would call them. You know, I would see something on their website which I thought was incorrect, and I would call them and let them know. But then, you know, after both Robs left, they put a new guy in named David something or other, and I met him, I think, once or twice, and since then, the last time I met with them, they had some sort of consultant that they wanted me to talk to, which I did, and it was some woman that never smoked a cigar in her whole life. I couldn't believe that this was the consultant. But at any rate, since then, I've had almost very little contact with them. And I don't even know who the new people
are. Rob and Rob are both two awesome guys. I mean, guys I really respected and liked. And in fact, Rob Madison, he's going to be visiting Florida here early next month. So it'll be good to see him again. I haven't seen him in a few years, probably about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, they had moved him to a division that sells this thing called Blue. It's an electronic disposable cigarette.
Yeah.
You know, they moved him there when the thing was in its death knell, and I don't believe he's with them anymore. I'm pretty sure of it. And but Rob Norris is still with Altadis, and I thought he was very competent. Very, you know, he was good. You know, the other guy, Estatis, I think is his name.
Javier.
Yeah, I only met him once. And actually, I was still working, you know, still at JR for a year or two, I guess, while he was there. And I just met him the one time he passed through the office, and, you know, he asked me my name. I told him. He asked me what I do there. I said, you know, everything.
That's the role.
But that's the only time I ever met that guy.
I want to put things in perspective for our listeners, because I think when you see things on a flat screen, you know, you have these perceptions that exist. And I was sharing, you know, we had lunch a couple weeks ago, and I asked you a bunch of questions about warehousing and what, like that, you know, stuff like that. So just to give people a sense of an idea of the mass size of what that organization became, right? We're very excited because we're moving into our 6,000 or 7,000 square foot warehouse, which at lunch you've convinced me now is not big enough.
Take the 18,000.
You know, after my lunch with you, I called them the next day. The other 12,000 was gone. So we're going to make it do for a few years. But so you know, to put it in perspective for a lot of our listeners out there, we're acquiring whatever it is, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 square foot warehouse, which for us, if you look at the space we've been working in, it's 5-6 times the size. So we're all excited and happy. But say 6,000, 8,000 square feet. Tell our listeners how big the JR warehouse was.
Well, it's still, I don't know if it's full anymore, but it was 280,000 square feet.
Jesus.
And oh my God.
So I just want to put this in perspective for people. 8,000 square feet, 280,000 square feet. And just, I know most people can't wrap their head around that. So I'll just tell you this. Your average major grocery store chain, which is like Publix down here or wherever you're at, you know, not like the super centers, but just your regular normal, you know, grocery store chain is about 30,000 square feet.
Well, it's easier to imagine it as a football field, because the football field is actually 100 yards, which is 300 feet long. And this was 3 football fields long.
Wow.
So, Yeah.
Yeah, but 3 football fields long, but how wide?
About, well, it wasn't.
I got to take out my calculator.
It wasn't a perfect rectangle.
Okay.
So maybe on average, 200 feet wide.
That's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
And then we went up 24 feet with pallet racking. So, but I bought everything in huge quantities. Like Andy Box Press, Andy Costin, the guy who makes the humidors.
Yes.
I mean, the first time I met him, and he wanted to sell us some humidors. He's used to people ordering, 24 or 48 or whatever. I saw 2 humidors I liked, and I said, okay, I'll take a container of each. How many fit in a 40-foot container?
It's a true story. Andy's been on my show.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to meet Lew. He went to work at a trade show. Andy's career is he makes a lot of furniture, does a lot for Rooms to Go. And he had known Nick Perdomo, and he showed him a humidor. He's like, oh, you got to meet this guy, Lew. So Andy worked Perdomo's booth in his earliest career just so he could meet Lew. He walks away. Lew comes by, leaves, and Andy comes back like you just missed him. So Andy chases Lew down and, shows him his humidor, gives him his card, and he gets a call from Lew, and Lew wants to talk over the phone. And he's like, I really want to come and meet you in person. So like, it's not necessary, but he does. And Andy's telling me the story. He's like, I'm hoping to walk out with an order for a couple hundred humidors, and Lew's first order was 2 containers, which I think was like 12,000 humidors.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Fit in there. I just want to know how many fit in the container.
Yeah.
The funny part was one of them was the H. Upman humidor, and I told Andy I want them numbered, from 1 to 2,000. But I guess I was ordering 2,000 of that particular one, and when they came in, I meant number 1, number 2, number 3, but they came in, it was like every single humidor said 1 of 2,000. So everybody got the first humidor ever made. And
I got the first one.
A better one was with Steve Saka. He was working for me, and I wanted to make a real fancy humidor for him. And so Andy we told Steve, type out his name on a piece of letter, 8.5 by 11 sheet, which he did in big bold letters, Steve Saka. So I give that to Andy. Andy sends it to China to make a special humidor for him. And when it comes in, it's this beautiful humidor with an 8.5 by 11 white square on the top that says Steve Saka. Of course, it's hard to give those people directions. They do exactly what you say. So they made it, instead of just putting his name on it, they put the 8.5 by 11 sheet of white paper on there.
And they end up copying like the exact marker writing, right?
Yeah.
No, it's it really is something in this industry. I know Steve Saka worked for you. It's kind of really when he first got in the cigar industry before he went to Jewish State, whatever. Have you been keeping up with anything he's doing? Have you been watching what he's doing, Lew?
Absolutely. I'm very friendly with Steve.
He's been doing very well.
It's a home run. Everything he does is a home run. But he's a perfectionist. Even though he worked for me, he could never work for me. It takes too long to do everything. I never ever in my entire career told any cigar maker how to make a cigar or what to use or whatever. What I would do is I would go there and they're making something for somebody else that's selling. I would make the same thing and just call it something else, but buy it at a much cheaper price because I was buying so many of them.
Wow. That's good stuff. So
Steve talks about working for you. He definitely has admiration for you, and I can only imagine having Steve work for you the way he is with the perfectionist.
When I was planning to leave, after I sold the company, I still worked there for a number of years. And to find a replacement for me, I wanted Steve Saka. And so,
Really?
yeah, I offered him the job, at a really great salary. And the company Altadis, British American Tobacco, Imperial Tobacco, whatever. The method that they have to, I told them, listen, there's only two people I know right now that I think could replace me immediately. Three actually. One is Steve. One is Mark Goldman, who ran House of Oxford and was my partner in those stores I told you about.
Yeah.
And the third one was Keith Meyer, who started Cigar International and now has Cigar Page. So at any rate, I told the people at Imperial Tobacco that this was the guy I want, that he could replace me. And they have a thing where people in my position, which was, they have different levels of uppityness, whatever you want to call it. What they do is first they research the guy, then they hire headhunters to market the same position at the same salary to see who they
can catch.
And this whole process takes, like 4, 5, 6 months till then the board has to approve it and all. By that time Saka would be old with grandchildren. So I couldn't do Steve, and it ended up that I put a super competent person in, which was Jane Vargas, who worked for me, and she's an outstanding buyer, and very and very creative. But I don't have any regrets about having Jane do it, because she was terrific, and the company, was functioning really good until they decided that she was making too much money. But she was making more money than the people that hired her. In fact, everybody was. All them people are gone.
Wow.
They keep rationalizing things. They rationalize products. They discontinued Muriel Caranellas when they were selling more Muriel Caranellas than the entire premium cigar industry.
Why did they discontinue it, Lou? What's what do you think the reasoning behind that?
They feel that by cutting out their lowest selling products, they increase the strength of their strongest selling products. And so they keep cutting out sizes and whatnot to increase the strength of the item in the line that's selling the best. Andy, sells them the tips for Habitampa Jewels.
Mm-hmm.
He was shipping, 10, 11, 12 containers at a time. Each container contained millions of tips.
Oh, just the wood tips on the Habitampa.
Yeah. And I don't think you can find a Habitampa Jewel today. The Dutch Master line, the Corona, was the best seller, so they kept doing stuff with the Corona and not doing stuff with the other 20 sizes or so that they had, and they got rid of them all. And now they seem to be doing the opposite with the premium cigar business. There's enough different kinds of Monte Cristo to fill up an entire freaking cigar store. I can't even name how many kinds of Monte Cristos there are. I can't name how many kinds of Romeo and Juliets. And the other companies, the same thing. Whoever thought there'd be like 20 kinds of Macanudos? And then you have them in different packages. One cigar in a polymer bag, 2 cigars in a polymer bag to put on counters, packs of 5, 10, 12, 15, 18, 20, 25. It's insane. They've watered down the entire industry.
Yeah, I think what's happened over the last couple of decades is that I think they fall in this cycle of it's easier to build something on a known brand than to try to create a new brand itself.
But it's detrimental to their customers. Number one, they're in competition with their customers by owning so many stores. But number two is the because I forgot what number 2 is, but it was a good one.
Well, you talked about
now I remember. Number 2 is as they keep launching these products, when a product fails to sell, it's incumbent on the retailer to get rid of this thing, not only at their cost, but all the tax they paid to get it into the state that they're in. I mean, you're fortunate in Florida you don't have this, but what if you were in Minnesota where not only did you pay the wholesale price, but then another 75% on top of that to get the product into your store? Now it doesn't sell. And you got to get rid of it because you need the money from that product to buy the next product.
Yeah.
Mark my words, if Cuban cigars ever become legal in this country, it's going to be devastating because people will need a lot of money to put in the inventory of Cuban cigars. And how do they get that money? They only can get that money by selling everything in their store at cost to raise inventory money to buy the next product.
I don't think it's going to work that much like that, Lou. I don't think you could raise all the money you want, but if they don't have it to sell you as much as you want, which I don't think they'll have off the bat, I don't know.
No, they will. They'll have all the cigars you can possibly use, and this is the reason why.
They've been storing them.
No, it has nothing to do with storage. It has to do with the fact that they're manufacturing a lot of cigars, and the cigars are going to the Far East, to Europe, to Asia, to Africa, to wherever, to Casa de Monte Cristo stores, and then to other stores that are supplied by their wholesale, outfit. I would venture to say that more than 50% of the cigars that they sell to all these other areas, the Far East, Africa, Middle East, whatever, those cigars are being bought by Americans and shipped here.
I got it.
Once the Cuban cigars are legal here, the people over there will cancel their orders.
They'll dry up.
So the production remains the same. It's just the shipping point changes.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Now, while I was still with the company, of course, I wasn't at liberty to say this, but now I'm not there anymore. They had millions of Monte Cristo number 4s rat-holed in England. They shipped them there unboxed, just the cigars, at various different times when they thought the law might change, because the Monte Cristo number 4 was the largest selling product that they had. So I don't.
So you're saying they're hoarding cigars in anticipation of an embargo lift?
They were. I don't know that they are anymore because I've been out of the business for a while and not privy to all their plans. But I do know that the big accounts that they have all over the world will chop their orders to pieces once Cuban cigars are legal in America.
Do you see that ever happening, Lou? I mean, there's been so many moments now over history where it just should have happened, and it hasn't. Do you actually really think that's just even ever going to happen at this point?
I don't know. I was working with my father when the Cuban embargo was put in place, and we had a lot of Cuban cigars because we had a United Cigar Store, and we just kept selling them at the same price because my father said, just keep selling them. This will be over in a couple of weeks. Obviously, he was wrong. He also told me in business, he said, you only do as much business as your own two hands can handle. In other words, if I'm not at the cash register or my wife is not at the cash register, that store shouldn't be open. But obviously, I couldn't have done what I did. I mean, we had 24 cash registers just in the Selma store. I couldn't be
right.
That was the mentality of my father. That's how they were raised.
Yeah.
My father and his brother owned a grocery business. They ran together for 25 years, 20 some years. And it was insane because they both couldn't take a day off.
Right.
One of the brothers had to be there. If one went overseas for a vacation for 3 weeks, the other guy worked 21 days straight.
Yeah, when I went into the service, my father opened and closed the store. We opened at 7 in the morning. We closed at 11 at night. And he lived an hour away. and he that was a massive feat of endurance. When I came home, like for 2 weeks leave, it wasn't that I spent time with my family. I worked in the store. Then I worked the store, from nothing in the morning till nothing at night, just to give him a rest.
Yeah, that was the mentality. So when I started opening up other stores here in Florida, my father was like, "How do you do that? You put a guy at the register. Well, how do you do it? Well, you just watch." And it was like he couldn't conceive how can you let that happen?
My father thought everybody would be stealing from him.
Well,
but he was wrong. Only half the people.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, what it comes to the point is, if you're going to be in retail, you just have to resign to the fact that people are going to steal.
Well, credit cards have helped a lot because it used to be everything was cash.
Cash. They can still steal. They steal cigars. They steal the cash. I mean, you just have to live with it as just part of what you do in your business.
I know, but if they steal a $10 cigar, it costs you $5. If they steal a $10 bill, it costs you $10.
True.
That's true.
The dollar. but yeah, the fact of the possibility of letting people steal was just something they couldn't live with. It's crazy.
Yeah,
that's how they lived back. That's how they did things back then.
Yeah, I'm talking about refraining from taking a piss because you can't leave the cash register. My father was incredible. My father could stand at the counter and wait on somebody, and we had like a flap, to go out from behind the counter. It was a flap that came over, and he could piss in a cigar box while he was taking care of a customer. The customer didn't know it.
This has been such an epic show, and we're going to probably go a little long here today because there's just certain segments we got to get in. But being, especially the guests that we have today, we definitely want to get to the Avo segment. We have a very special segment called As the Record Spins. So why don't you cue that up, Paul, and we'll ask Lew a very special question from Avo Cigars. As the Record Spins, powered by Avo Cigars, Lew, we have a very special question to ask you from the fine folks at Avo Cigars. So here's your question for As the Record Spins, Lew. Who do you think would be cast as you if they did a movie about your life? So if somebody was going to come to you and say, look, we want to do a life story about you, Lew. We want to talk about your history, how you did the cigar business, whatever. Who do you think would be cast best to play Mr. Lew Rothman?
Mark Goldman.
You mean your partner?
Right.
Oh, come on. We need an actor, Lew. We need an actor. What actor do you see playing Lew Rothman?
Maybe Dustin Hoffman.
Wow, you know what? Yeah.
Because he can be basically anybody.
I can see that. I can even see Dustin Hoffman doing your voice. That's a good pick. Yeah. Dustin Hoffman. And there you have it. As the Record Spins by Avo Cigars. Thank you, Lew.
I have a story about Avo.
Oh, well, hold on. Do you want to bring Coop in at all? Are we going to do the segment? This show has just gone like haywire today.
Yeah, let's bring Coop in.
Let's bring Coop in. I mean, who's Coop? I love it. Who's Coop?
Hold on. Do you want me to do his intro?
Yeah, do his intro. Let's get him in.
Hey, yo, what's my theme music?
The Scoop with Coop. Breaking industry news. Hear it first on KMA Talk Radio and cigar-coop.com.
That's Coop, Lew.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Lew.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
All right.
Coop, I'm sorry, man. This show just kind of got away today.
No. That's totally understandable. Look, what a shit it's been today. This is for the archives for sure.
Yeah. was a hell of a show. But share with us, Lew, your Avo story, because I love when Lew breaks into a story.
Well, Avo owned his own company, Avo Ovasian, the piano player, and there was a time when Davidoff was suing us, and they were suing us because we were making a JR alternative to the Davidoff brand, and also to the Avo brand. So in the lawsuit, Davidoff filed their lawsuit as the owners of the Davidoff and Avo brand, but they didn't really own the Avo brand. Avo owned it, and the lawsuit came to a stop. And in order to continue in the lawsuit, Davidoff was forced to buy the Avo brand so that they could continue as the owner. And I think they paid him $6 or $7 million for it. And at one of those cigar aficionado dinners where at the Four Seasons, Avo came up to me and hugged me and he said, "Thank you so much," because that lawsuit had made them buy the brand from him. He was already, like 85 years old or whatever. And so that's how he became financially independent from my lawsuit.
Wow, that's great.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So, okay, Coop, you got any questions you want to ask Lew while we got you on?
Lew, what do you think right now is the biggest challenge the cigar industry is facing outside of FDA right now?
Outside of the FDA?
Yeah.
Taxes. I mean, the taxes are multiplying the cost of cigars tremendously, and I don't think the 41.6 cents cap on importing stuff is going to last. It's going to get higher, and the state taxes are going to... All the states are in trouble now because of how much money it has cost them, for this COVID-19 thing. So I'm thinking that, one of the things they're going to look at is the taxes on cigars. So, if you look at the imports, that the CAA puts out, I mean, the average cigar coming in maybe costs $1 because there's a lot of inexpensive. The bulk of the business is bundled cigars. So if the average cigar comes in at $1, then it really costs $1. Or say it costs $1.50 by the time you ship it and pay the 41.6 cents tax. So now the item is costing some importer $1.50, and they want to make whatever they want to make on a 40%, 50%. Let's assume that they work close to the vest and they sell the cigar for $2 instead of $1.50. Then it goes to some state where the average tax is 40%. So now it's $2.80, and that retailer wants to double their money on it, Keystone, and the cigar becomes $5.60. And then you add state sales tax to it. Now the dollar cigar has become a $6 cigar. The $2 cigar, becomes $8, whatever.
Right.
And while money is much cheaper than it used to be, still the preponderance of people who smoke cigars that are real cigar smokers, a guy who smokes 2 or 3 cigars a day, they can't spend $20 a day on cigars. Even if they could afford it, their wife would kill them. So I think the biggest thing is tax. It's the same with cigarettes. I mean, I used to, when I was a kid, we sold cigarettes 2 packs for 35 cents in my father's open windowed store. And today the cigarettes that I smoke, if you're in Manhattan, cost close to $15 for 1 pack. Everything is tax. And people don't realize not only are they paying that tax, but then when the retailer makes money, he has to pay tax on his profit. So the amount of tax collected on all tobacco products is just staggering.
Absurd.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Absolutely is. Lew, do you think right now what do you think the future is for catalog sales right now? Do you think there's a real danger that this could be outlawed?
Well, they're forcing people to collect taxes in various different places now, so that is going to have an impact. However, the preponderance of different numbers of cigars that are out there make it impossible for any particular retailer to carry everything that's available unless they're in the mail order business, because then their audience is the entire United States. I do think that eventually somebody is going to start a mail order company in another country, shipping them in here and avoiding most of these taxes.
Interesting.
Directly to consumers.
I get this question for you, Lou. As a guy who basically founded the first catalog in this business, how relevant or how important, because they're still making them, even in the digital age, even with online stores, catalogs are still being printed, and it's not an inexpensive process.
No,
If you wouldn't mind sharing with our listeners, you guys printed a catalog once a month when you were there?
Right.
And what are the expenses roughly to do one catalog once a month and ship it out to everybody?
Over $1 million a month. It's over $1 million a month.
So, and how many catalogs were you roughly doing for $1 million a month?
Well, let me just think about this. If you consider the postage and the catalog, I take it back. Try $3 million a month.
Jesus.
Oh, wow.
And that's for how many catalogs?
About 600,000.
So 600,000 consumers. You're spending $3 million a month to reach 600,000 consumers. Do you even think that in today's day and age with the web and the digital, that why are catalogs still even being used?
They shouldn't be. It's a waste of money. If I was going back into business now, I'd just be on the internet and hire the best artists and the best catalog people and do it that way. Because first of all the catalogs look the same. They all look like Thompson's used to do, a bunch of different squares. Then the next month they rotate the squares to different places. But they don't tell you anything about the cigar other than the length, the ring size, and how much they cost.
The price, yeah.
I mean, the artwork is spectacular. The cigars look edible.
Right, the photography is great.
Well, it's not so much the photography anymore. It's the fact that you can manipulate the color of everything with the computers and make them all look gorgeous. We used, in the early days when we were making the catalog, we used to open hundreds of boxes of cigars trying to find, the perfect color, or
right,
unbox them and rebox them so that we got all the same thing in the same color, and then move all the cigar bands and and then put up the photos on light boxes and pick out which ones were the best ones. Today you don't have to do any of that stuff.
You just take a photo and alter it.
Yeah. I forget what they call it. There's a word for it. But yeah, the programs they have are sensational to manipulate them. But when I did the catalogs, I'm not saying mine is the best way. I'm sure other people think theirs is the best way. I tried to write a story about every cigar because people want to know a little bit about the cigar. Today they're all the same. It's like buy this and get 5 cigars free. Buy this and get a cigar cutter. Buy this and get a hat.
Well, I think what you did differently and why you're so revered and loved is you were a good writer, Lou. You wrote good content. What people don't know is you wrote a lot of your own material.
I wrote it all.
You wrote your content. So
yeah, I wrote it all the day before it went to print.
Yeah, I mean, Lew wrote. Look, and that's one of the things that I've been blessed in being able to know you is that look, there are people out there just doing business, putting numbers, and just wanting to do sales, and that's never what we try to do. We always try to, whether it's a story or an experience or an interaction, just be more than a sale.
I think you're very creative in the stuff you do. I mean,
thank you.
It's interesting and it's different. Just having this show is different. I mean, I'm sure 99% of the people who buy stuff by mail, couldn't identify the person they bought it from if they were standing next to them.
Which I'm going to tell you, because you remember Lew made his career back in the day, really before there was social media. Right. So there's great stories about people on the trade show floor. Now, these aren't consumers; these are retailers, industry people that would go to the Santa Clara booth, which was their wholesale division, and Lew would be on the floor taking orders, right? And they would walk up to him and says, "Hey, do you know where Lew Rothman is? I'd like to meet Lew Rothman." Lew Rothman would be, and Lew would say, "Yeah, I think he just went that way."
Yeah, he told us a few times too on the air that people would come up to him telling him how, "Oh yeah, I know Lew Rothman. We're good buddies," not knowing that they were talking to him.
In the store, they would say that to me in the store because I used to spend a lot of time in the store.
That's great.
Actually, one day a guy came up to me and said he knew me, and I said that's bullshit. And I found out he was in the Marine Corps with me. He really did know me. I just didn't recognize him.
Oh man!
One time I was at this bocce tournament, and I overheard this guy saying that he was my lawyer. And I went up to him and I said, "Who are you?" But he really was my lawyer. It's just that we had different lawyers for everything. They were like doctors. They all specialize in something.
Right.
If you go to the dentist today and there's something wrong, they send you to another dentist.
Yep.
It's true, because when I think about back in my career when we first started, we had no lawyers. Like, God forbid we ever need a lawyer. I think I have like 5 different lawyers that I regularly interact with now.
It's for different stuff.
It's literally insane.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it is. The only lawyer I really like is my trademark lawyer, because those are the ones that actually sometimes make you money.
Right.
We've been fortunate enough to have a couple of marks that my organization has profited well on. So those are they're the only ones I really like. But trademark law is such a farce because it really comes down to who can afford it more. It really does. It comes down to who's got the deeper pockets will always win. And then that's why, like, I don't even like, I used to trademark everything. I used to think of, now I just do it. And then if it becomes a problem, then you can go, because you have the right of first use. But like, we had Anarchy cigars forever, forever before there was the Sons of Anarchy cigar. And then they came out. So, of course, in my naive little universe, we reached out to them and said, hey, we feel like this is infringement. We have the mark Anarchy in cigars and categories, cigar category, and we've had this out many, many years before you're now trying to come out with the Sons of Anarchy cigar. And of course, 20th Century Fox basically told us to go fuck ourselves, literally, and said, look, our show was around before your cigars, which, if you look analytically, has no bearing on the cigar industry, Mark. But what are you going to do? You're going to fight 20th Century Fox? All right, enjoy your cigar.
Yeah, I had that. At one convention, Rocky Patel was putting out a brand called Mocha.
I remember that.
I had been making that for, 25, 30 years already. And, I forced him to change the name. I think he named it Java. Now, I just
I remember that trade show because he already had his fixtures in his trade show booth up in Mocha.
Right. Yeah.
By the second day, it was gone of the trade show. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they do stuff without checking. But just about every name you can think of is already trademarked. You gotta, now they come up with names that you would, even the consumer can't remember the name. Right. Crowl. Some of them.
Lew Rothman just gave a plug for JSK. I love it.
And Rupert.
Yeah, some of them have it's like the name of a Mexican dictator.
Wow.
It's like 10 names long.
Somebody tag Risty.
And everything is a celebration that something happened. They had a good meal, so they name it after the cigar. They name a cigar after it. Whatever. All sorts of bizarre stuff.
Eric Espinosa used to reach out to me all the time. He goes, bro, I can't come up with any more names. Every time I check something, it's taken. I mean, it's problematic. I see Coop donning his Sopranos jacket today. I just noticed that.
Yes.
Ooh.
Dude, I'm the biggest Furio fan out there. To hear him on the show today was, that was just priceless. And I became a bigger fan of his after that interview.
If I'd known that, we would have put you on the show while he was on.
I had him ready. We're running out of time. He was on.
It was three guys already interviewing one guy and then four at the top. I totally get it. I was just, I actually asked Paul. I said, Paul, sneak me in there anyway.
We'll have him on again. We'll definitely.
Yeah. There's no issue with that. Yeah.
He was very reachable, to be honest with you. Guys
he was
trying to get on the show. And these guys are like, you'll send them a text and you're lucky to hear from them in 30 days.
Oh yeah.
He's very reachable, and we have his number. And I'm sure I love the idea that he's doing with his, the what's it called again, Paul?
Virtual cons.
Virtual cons.
Listen, man, Coop, you'd be jealous because I probably talked to him for an hour yesterday, just BSing, and just a really great guy. It turns out, well, Abe always makes fun of me, but it turns out we know a couple of the same people, and we worked in a couple of the same areas and stuff. So it really, I was a huge Sopranos fan, so yeah. I was definitely fan geeking on him a little bit. But he has some stories too. So when we get him on again, some of them he can share and some of them he can't. But he has some really great cast stories, especially from the show.
Hey, if I disappear, my thing is down to 3%. So if I disappear, it's because I ran out of electricity.
Well,
we're already 15 minutes over the show anyway.
Yeah. We're going to go through a couple segments, Lou, but if you do disappear, I just want to tell you, thanks again for coming on. We always love having you come on. It's
Absolutely.
always great stories. And if we're lucky, we'll try to get you on again before you head back up north, and maybe we'll get together and have another lunch. But always a great show, Lou. Very appreciated. Thank you for your time.
So I'll just sign off then? Is that it?
You can. You can. That way it won't look like you hung up.
Okay. All right. See you.
Thank you.
We'll see you, Lou.
Lou.
Great
Bye
show. Talk about a jam-packed show today. Holy cow.
Seriously.
This is one for the annals of history, for sure. I mean...
Anals?
Anals.
He loves that word. Coop loves that word.
Annals of history.
One thing I just want to say about Federico's character, Furio, he was one of the most complex characters on that show. When you break down that character and the two sides of him, he had that mean enforcer side, then he had that sensitive side. There was a lot to that character he played.
And his relationship with Carmela.
I was going to say, he started flirting with Carmela. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, yep.
So he was an unbelievable addition to that cast, and it's a testament
they let him go too soon. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a testament to him that and the people that wrote the character, that a character that's that big, a part of the show, the show continued on its success through the addition of somebody like that. So it was like you say, Coop. It's one of the greatest shows of all time. I think.
It's definitely part of iconic history forever.
Yeah,
so.
it is. It's like I think it's if we're doing a top 10 list, it's one on my list. There's not a question.
Ooh! Future top 10. I like this.
Wow.
I like this. We may have to do this.
Yeah. We're in on one, so yeah.
Maybe Paul and I will do one of our top 10s when you guys are done with your top.
There you go.
So Coop, what else do you have in the news?
I'll make a quick. I know we're late, so I'll do a few quick hits. The PCA trade show. The PCA has said the show is on. There's been some email communications going out. Scott Pierce was on the How About That Cigar show on Monday night. He confirmed that they're going forward with the trade show on July 9th. So
I want my $5, Eric Guttermison. I want my $5.
Yep, Eric's gonna have to. Well, the show's still gonna have to happen. Let's see what happens, but. I think PCA is interesting. They got a little bit of an advantage being later now. And, if you go back a year ago when TPE was going ahead at PCA, everyone thought TPE would have that edge. But TPE shows like too close to the, it's still too close for comfort, I think, with the whole COVID thing. PCA's going to have a little more of an edge right now, so we'll see what happens with that.
I just want to respond to Jay Davis real quick. The difference was the wire. Wire didn't go far enough. A great show, but it didn't go far enough. It is
a great show.
It got cut too early to be that iconic. So might have been. Yeah.
So what else you got?
There's a couple of new releases from Altadis that's come out right now. So there's a new St. Louis Ray that's in the stores next month, and they also announced a new Monte Cristo Epic. It's the Epic Vintage 2012. And if you know about the Epic series, they tend to use, it's a vintage series that they do, so they do vintages from different years. This one's going to feature a vintage of 2012 tobacco. It's kind of getting the name of Monte Cristo Blue because of the blue bands. So the blue bands have made their way to Monte Cristo, you know, where 10 years ago you wouldn't hear of a Monte Cristo having a blue band. Now it's having a blue band right now.
There you go.
Yep. So Altadis seems to be doing a nice job of spreading their releases out throughout the year. You know, obviously they're not doing the PCA this year, so it looks like their strategy is they're kind of each month doing 1 or 2 releases, and you know, so there's something to look forward to with them throughout the year this year for sure.
What else is going on, Coop?
One last note: a TAA cigar was announced. The TAA is coming up later this month. And J.C. Newman's going to be releasing a Brickhouse cigar called The Beginnings in both natural and Maduro. And that is supposedly some cigars they uncovered in the warehouse from the original batch. And they've been aging since. So they're going to release, it's not a new blend, but it's a very much aged blend that they're releasing. They've done the Brickhouse Beginnings.
Okay. Good stuff.
Yep.
Anything our fans can look forward to on the Coop this week?
Yeah, we're gonna have Alan Rubin of Alec Bradley Cigars as a guest Thursday night. So
the real Alan Rubin.
The real Alan Rubin.
The real Alan Rubin. Yes, the real Alan Rubin of Alec Bradley. So very excited about that show coming up. It's we haven't talked to Alan in a while, so and they got a lot of stuff going on. So and Alan's always a great conversation. So
oh man, the guy he's also a guy with great stories too.
It really is, and he's very, you know, direct. He'll tell it like it is, too. So I always appreciate that with Alan.
All right.
And shall we get to
let's
the tape?
Do Tell the Tape. We need to see who ranks this week.
So actually this week, Coop and I decided that we were going to forego the top 10 list and just take a minute to pay tribute to Marvin Hagler, who passed away last week. Paul, why don't you go ahead and run that video? Icon. I mean, what else can you say?
The guy never ducked anybody. And here's the thing. His toughest fights were in the last segment of his career. That run he had as the middleweight champion. He ducked nobody. We all know about the Hearns fight. He was in trouble in that fight. You know, they were in danger of stopping the fight because he was cut. And he knew what he had to do to get that job done. And here's the other thing, Alex. He stayed at middleweight. And he was very open about that because he knew if he went up in weight, he felt he couldn't be the same fighter. So he always stayed at middleweight throughout his career.
Right, which is, you know, a credit to him. I mean, you see that a lot, people jumping up and down, but, you know, the guy knew where he performed best, and you know, that's why he's an icon. And, you know, marvelous Marvin Hagler. I mean, there's very few people, even just on the outskirts of a little bit of knowing what boxing is, that know marvelous Marvin Hagler.
that clip was incredible that was put together. And there was a guy who was in the green trunks. That was Mustafa Hamsho when Marvin Hagler stopped him in the 11th round. And let me tell you, Hamsho was disrespecting Hagler throughout that whole fight. And Hagler just put the guns on in the 11th round. I remember that fight. And he beat the crap out of him. And then he took Hamsho on again. And every time Marvin fought a guy a second time, he beat him worse than the first time.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, the Leonard decision was Leonard's decision. It was, but it was unfortunate the way his career ended like that. But, I was so glad to see the accolades he got over the past week.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, rest in peace, Marvin Hagler, man.
Absolutely.
For the boxing community.
What a segment.
Alex really surprised me with that when he told me the news, actually. Alex was the one who told me the news.
I did. Actually, we were at Rocky's birthday. I saw it.
It was surprising. And look, I'm not a guy who I watched boxing. I paid attention. But I wouldn't even attempt to do what you guys are doing with a segment. But there's one. I was fortunate enough to watch him fight. And even if you see some of these clips, man, look, one of the things you see is like in rounds 9, 8, 10, they're not hitting like they are in rounds 1 and 2. This guy's throwing like bombs.
He's still throwing bombs. Right. 10,
bombs in rounds 9 and 10. Like you're watching some of those hits, and you're like, oh my God, that was crushing.
Yeah. He was taking a beating against beating against Mugabe in the second to last fight, and again he had to throw bombs to kind of stop Mugabe. It was just he knew what he had to do when he was in trouble in a fight.
Now, I haven't heard much about. I saw a post by Jeff a couple seconds ago. I haven't heard much about his cause of death. Was there anything that's been out there?
There's conspiracy theories. I'll say Hearns made a segment saying that implied that he died because of getting a vaccine, but his wife, Hagler's wife, has denied this story. So all we know is that Thomas Hearns made that comment.
But he wasn't sick because there was no signs of. I mean, he didn't have an illness or anything. Did he?
Not that we know of. They kind of said the same thing about Hank Aaron too. When Hank Aaron died a month or so ago, he had gotten the vaccine 2 weeks prior, but there's really nothing to justify that was the cause. I don't like to go either way on those kind of things.
I don't know. I just didn't know he had
privacy. Hagler's a private guy. He was always a private guy. Yeah, so it's hard to really tell if there was something going on before that.
Well, marvelous. Rest in peace, my friend.
Yep, absolutely.
Brought us a lot of very epic moments in the world.
Brought back a lot of memories. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, to wind this day down, Paul, let's take us and see this week who belongs in a cigar insane asylum.
Welcome to the Cigar Asylum.
Did you know I'm utterly insane? We all go a little mad sometimes.
Where logic and reason cease to exist.
All right. Well, as Paul noted yesterday, we kind of ran out of time to have our meeting, so I'm actually reading this for the first time today. Interesting, insane asylum. So here we go. This week's inductee wanted what he wanted, and he didn't want to work for it. Texas man Eric Dion Warren, 50 years old, drove a car dealership loaner to a bank. Then he went inside the bank, placed an empty fast food bag on the counter along with a note that read, "This is an effing robbery. Play with me and die. I want $10,000 in $50 and $100 bills, and you have 1 minute or I will kill you." He then pulled out what looked like a handgun and said, "I ain't playing around. I only want hundreds and fifties," according to the authorities. The teller filled the fast food bag with cash, including a bundle of 20s with recorded serial numbers. Warren then drove the $5,086 haul, a little shy of what he asked for, back to the car dealership where he had been in the process of buying a black BMW. He began waving the cash he had illegally obtained from the bank robbery at employees in the car dealership ready to buy a car. The fraudulent financing quickly went south for Warren when authorities called the car dealership 15 minutes later and informed workers about the getaway car with the dealer plates. Police arrived at the dealership and found Warren in possession of the traceable cash and a pellet gun that looked like a real weapon. He pled guilty and was sentenced to 20 years in prison for a crime. I guess he has plenty of time now to save up for that BMW. Congratulations, Warren. You are this week's inductee into the Cigar Insane Asylum. Talk about a not well thought out plan.
Yeah.
That was pretty not sharp. I mean, traceable dealer place. Well, listen, it was a great show, epic show today. Coop, sorry for the short time. Like I said,
no apologies necessary. Yeah,
we ran away with Fed, and Lew was always great. Everybody out there, have a great weekend. Next week we got Juan Cancelas. I got that.
No, next week is Kevin Shahan. That is incorrect.
So the sheet was wrong. I thought so. I thought
the sheet was wrong. Yeah.
No shocker there.
Way to do your job well, Paul.
Good job.
Good job, Paul. And
Kevin Shahan of Cigar Prop will be on the show.
To boot, he knew he was wrong and didn't bother at any point telling me to correct it.
I edited it, and I did not tell you guys to. I was trying to get it up there before you would say it.
Yeah, but next week, Kevin Shahan, Cigar Prop. Everybody out there, thanks for joining us. We hope we made another entertaining Saturday morning for you all. Until next week, keep it lit.